Did you catch it? Jesus just upped the ante here. The Pharisees tried to trip him up, and now he'd already passed several tests that were designed to trip him up, but they tried it again. And he told the Pharisees in the previous test that they should give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar. He's already answered the Sadducees about marriage and the afterlife, and now he's answered this question about the greatest commandment. And they are left speechless. Isn't that enough? Well, no, it's not. Because Jesus' teachings are only a small part of Jesus' legend. The news of what Jesus can do has spread throughout Israel. Everywhere Jesus goes, people show up. They know who he is. They know what he does. They have come to hear him teach. They've come to be healed. They've come to see what he is talking about. And Jesus is a celebrity, and we tend to listen to celebrities whether we should or not, right? And here he is in the capital city, and he's teaching people about the relationship that God wants with them, teaching people that they can have access to God without having to go through someone else, like a priest. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees are in jeopardy of losing their status in the community. They have to do something, and they have to do it now, to discredit this man who is gaining legendary status. And so they come again and again. And then Jesus ups the ante. He asks them a question. What do you think about the Christ? Whose son is he? And the reply is the one he was expecting. He knows they will. They invoke David, the man, the myth, and the legend. David is the man in Jewish history. He is the great one. He is the one by which all others are judged. He's the one who brought the 12 Jewish tribes together and brought Israel to the height of glory among the nations. He's the one by which all others are compared. And so the Christ, the one who will come and bring Israel back to that former glory, because of that, he will be called the Son of David. Not because he's the actual child of David, but because that name invokes honor. And yet we know David was not perfect, right? In fact, he was a man of many flaws. He was a man who was willing to take another man's wife. He was a man who was willing to orchestrate the murder of that man. He was not perfect, but somehow all those traits are overlooked when the legend of David is invoked. But I don't think that's why Jesus sidesteps being known as David's son. Because he understands the kind of power that David's name carries, and he could use it if he wanted. But Jesus doesn't need to. Because Jesus knows that his end goal goes far beyond what he's going to do on this earth. Jesus knows that his humanness is only one aspect of his mission. And so Jesus is trying to connect people with God. And here he is, the very face of God on earth. And so Jesus tells them that the Christ is not the Son of David, but so much more. The Christ, the anointed one of God, is recognized by David, the man, the myth, and the legend, as Lord. The Lord said to my Lord. Now this is the first time in Matthew that Jesus publicly announced that he was more than the legend that followed him. The legend said that Jesus was a prophet of great renown. He was mentioned in the lofty realms of the legendary Moses and Elijah. No one but Jesus could live up to the great ones. The legend said that Jesus was a man of great power. He could heal. He could produce things out of nothing. He could control the wind and the rain. These are powers that only God was known to have. And so, the world was starting to see this man as perhaps something more than a man. And so the legend grows. But what makes Jesus different than legend? Did his fame spread as legend? Perhaps. But, legends tend to exaggerate. Legends become larger than life, right? Like an exploding kid who ate Pop Rocks. But in Jesus' case, there are witnesses. There were thousands who saw him produce foods for the crowds. There were witnesses to the water changing to wine. There were witnesses to the blind seeing and the lame walking. There are witnesses. These aren't false claims that can be debunked. There were witnesses. There were witnesses to the resurrection. And the resurrection is what changes this myth, or changes this from myth and legend to reality. Jesus is not a legend because Jesus is a reality. His offer of grace and the salvation that we have already been given is not myth, it's reality. Which is amazing. It's amazing because it means that thousands saw God face to face. The people who saw Jesus saw God face to face. Jesus brought God to a world that though they couldn't see God face to face, they thought that they couldn't, there he was doing that very thing. Jesus brought God to us. Jesus brought God to us in a way that was no longer mythical, but real. Jesus is God made real for us. And this far outweighs any miracle that he ever did. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here worshiping. That's why we reach out in love to those who are in need. Not because of a legend, not because of obligation, but because we are in love with a living God. And a living God loves the world, and so we love the world. It's more than legend. It's more than that. We see the evidence of God in the world if you look for it. Look for the evidence of God and you will see it. But more than that, you will see the evidence of God in your own life if you look. You can see it in the miracle of new life. You can see it in the love that is shared in the world. You can see it in the chance encounter that happens at just the right time. You can see it in the outpouring for those who have been hit by disaster, if you look for it. So look for the evidence of God in your life, because it's more than legend. And then feel free to share that with people. Tell them about the real presence of God in your life. Be the witnesses today that goes beyond legend. Would you pray with me, please? God, we thank you for the ways in which you affect our lives, a very real way in which you come and change us. So Lord, may we feel that presence today. May we feel that presence every day. May we know without a doubt that you are. And then let us share that with the world. In your name we pray. Amen. So along with these in-gathering kits that are here this morning, we also will pray, or not pray, but we will help the world by reaching out in love through our offering.